It's amazing that there are political minorities in the strangest areas. Would you believe there's rumored to be Republicans in the city and county of Denver? We will root them out and we will send them someplace they belong. And this man is in charge of that. The chairman of the Denver GOP, Garret Flicker. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, John.
All right. First of all, there are Republicans there are Republicans in Boulder where I live. We have a secret handshake. We meet once a month. Actually, I'm an independent now or unaffiliated. But are there Republicans in Denver?
Absolutely. There's lots of Republicans in Denver.
Where are they?
At their homes.
At their homes.
In their apartments.
In their jobs.
Working. Yeah.
It is a tough district. It is a really tough district, as in any urban district. But it's still important that there be a party there. What's the function of the Denver GOP?
The function of the Denver GOP is to show people that there is another alternative to the Democratic Party, which has, a stranglehold on the urban environment that is Denver. It's important to have, a dissenting opinion to the perpetual insanity that we're seeing in Denver.
I think there's a wake-up call now as people are cleaning up the trash and feel unsafe in what was once a great city. I'm really curious about this. You are the first openly gay chairman of the GOP in Denver. You might be the first in state history. You're not gay. You're obviously straight because the Republican Party doesn't welcome gays. So come out of the closet and tell me you're straight.
Well, I'm going to tell you that's fake news.
That's fake news.
That's fake news.
No, there are tons of people watching who go, wait a second, there are no gay Republicans. There are no black Republicans, there are no Hispanic Republicans, there are no gay Republicans. Forget the Republican title for a second. But conservative and libertarian people with a different lifestyle, well, that just doesn't make any sense according to the narrative. So why are you a Republican?
Well, you don't have to live your entire life based on your sexuality. That's insanity to me. The fact that people identify themselves first by their sexuality or their color of their skin really shows the shallowness, I think, of that person. The reason why I'm a Republican is my belief system. I believe in smaller government. I believe in pragmatic solutions. I believe in, making sure that we in Denver, don't have a homelessness situation that's out of control and ignored. There's many reasons why I'm a Republican. And I can tell you this, John. I have gotten much more hate from the LGBT community for being a gay Republican than I ever had from the most extreme Christian Republican.
That is a hell of a statement. Let's dive into that for just a second. You're young. Well, how old are you?
25.
God, I hate that. Because I was 25. This is what's happening. It'll happen to you someday. In my younger days, when I was 25, I don't think the Republican Party was welcoming of gays. The log cabin Republicans have always been around, but there was this idea that republicanism, that conservatism, was also a social thing, and that they were the ones who led the charge against civil unions. They were the ones who led the charge against gay marriage. My sense is, and I've always thought, now that is yesterday's issue, I don't think anybody cares anymore, that even those people who were politically active in that debate, gay, lesbian, transgendered people who were involved in that debate, now I would say a third, maybe a half of them, politically speaking, are one of us. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be told what they can and cannot do, which is why they got into the gay marriage fight anyway. Now that that's gone, it seems like there's a lot of people there who should be conservatives. Tell me if I'm right or wrong on this one.
I think that there are a lot of gay conservatives, and that can be reflective of, I'm also the vice chair for Log Cabin Republicans, which is a statewide organization.
What are the Log Cabin Republicans?
Log Cabin Republicans are gay Republicans.
All two of them?
No, actually, in fact, in the last 3 months, we've grown by 500%. We went from 13 members to well over 60 now.
Cool.
So it is growing rapidly. You know, we're traveling around the state. We're meeting with different Republican organizations, coalition building, and we're being taken very seriously.
As you should be. And but tell me about the hate you get from the gay rights community. It's funny. I knew a guy who came out as gay at work. Nobody cared. He came out as a gun owner, and he was almost bullied out of his job. What's happened to you?
I mean, in terms of how I've been treated by the left, I've been treated by the left fairly poorly at times. I mean, because...
Be an example or two.
Well, I've definitely had my fair share of Facebook messages that...
Say what? Why are they angry that you're conservative?
Because you're not conforming. You know, I have a nickname for those people when they decide to hate you because of your political views, just because you're gay. I call that group of people the Gestapo.
I haven't heard that one before.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, like, why can I not be about smaller government and gun ownership and also be gay? Being a minority, I am actually encouraged to own a firearm because, you know, there are hate crimes that happen against us. Now, granted, the hate crimes now that are happening are coming from from my perceived own side, which would be the liberal LGBT side of things.
Are you a traitor?
Am I a traitor?
Yeah, I mean,
No.
for the gay rights community, don't they look at you and say, look at all that we've done for you, and now you're working for the people who would have put you in a box?
Absolutely not. I'm not a traitor. In fact, I would say they're the traitors. They're the traitors because they have diluted the community with a very vast amount of alphabet soup. I have no relation to someone who is non-binary, who is asexual. I mean, I can't relate to that. So, I mean, the problem with the LGBT community is, where does the gay and lesbian people actually fit anymore? I mean, if you look at the flag, they just keep adding more and more and more and more things to it.
I'm trying to remember, Chris. I remember it was the gay community, and then it was the lesbian and gay community, then it was a lesbian, gay, transgendered community, and then it was a lesbian, gay, transgender, and then questioning. And then it was, they added something else.
LGBTQ, which is queer.
Queer, which is different than questioning? I don't know.
I don't know either.
You're gay, you're supposed to know these things.
Unfortunately, I don't. You know, and that's the problem. Just because I'm gay, it doesn't mean I have to buy into insanity. And that's really what this gets at the root of. Like, I don't know what they're talking about anymore. I mean... What is this?
They're talking about.
I mean, they're adding intersex people, you know, non-binary people, asexual people. I mean, if you're an asexual person, I mean, how are you underrepresented? It just doesn't mean you want to be with anyone. I mean, so I just don't understand why the organization has to be so inclusive. You know, me and my many other log cabin friends, when we talk about the LGBT community and what it's become, we wonder to ourselves, how could it stand for something if it stands for everything?
You know what's odd is, and I spend a lot of time arguing about this, the idea that Martin Luther King championed, judge me by my character, not by my perceived identity. And now it's the left who demands to judge you by the color of your skin, by how much you have score on the victim card. And you cannot go, no, what's between my ears is more important than what's between my legs. Why don't you identify me as my personality, not my sexuality or my color or my gender or what I like to wear? You know, and what's odd is, being over twice your age, when I was your age, the left were the ones carrying the banner that said, you know, due process matters. You're innocent until proven guilty. I'll defend to my death your right to say it. And now the left is the movement of the expedient. The end always justifies the means, which means we'll take away due process. And as as a white straight guy, I can't say it the way you can say it. That, wait a second, it has nothing to do with my sexuality.
I mean, the truth is, as a white straight guy, I mean, you should be able to have an opinion. You still couldn't have an opinion. I mean, you can't allow people who are irrational to set the social norms. And that's becoming a larger problem, you know, not just in the state of Colorado, but throughout the United States. I think there is a serious problem with education. I mean, I think when talking about sexuality and things of that nature, I don't think that, that's what our education system needs to be built on anymore. And I think that's become problematic. You also see history currently. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I went to school for history and political science. And when you look at history, you learn a lot of things. You learn a lot of things about the past. But when I was in college, there was this shift, and this was, between 2013 and 2017, there was this real large shift to postmodernism within history, and history kind of became what you make of it. And to me, that's very, very dangerous, because you see this stuff. When you see this stuff in a real historical context, it's caused a lot of problems. I actually focused in studying Nazi history. My family is Jewish. We lost family in the Holocaust. And I wanted to know why that happened. And let me tell you this. When you research about the Third Reich and Nazism, a lot of what they did was rewrite history. In fact, they went so far as to excavate fake runes that proved the legitimacy of the Aryan race and all this other nonsense, which just wasn't real. And maybe it's not that extreme yet in the United States, but we're definitely on that course right now with history. I mean, you hear about the critical race theory and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, it's just going to create a bunch of confused people. I mean, and it never endures the test of time.
Jewish and gay, and there's a joke there, and I'm just going through my filing cabinet, and it's just not coming up. But by the end of this, it'll happen.
In fact, my father's side is Jewish, and my mom's actually Lebanese Catholic. So yes, I am. You
are America. That's the answer.
That's exactly. I'm an American.
What America looks like.
I mean, this is a melting pot. People came here from all different ethnic groups and religions, and they intermarried, and they had kids, and that was the beauty of us.
That's what I find so fascinating about this modern racism, and it is racism. This identity politics is racism. There's just no other way around it, is that over time, it's a non-issue. When you take a look at intermarriage rates between people of different races and birth rates, at some point, we all become mixed. That's a beautiful thing. And America is apparently so racist, we keep getting it on with each other of different races. So I don't buy that. Let me ask you about this. Being so young, are the people on the left who are ragging on you, do they have a point? In that, listen, Garret, you weren't there for the battles. You grew up after the battles. You grew up in a safer place. You don't understand the hate that is out there, particularly with conservatives. Cousin of mine's gay, and we were talking. He's about my age, and he was joking about these damn kids go to high school and they got their gay and lesbian clubs and this and that. When I had to come out to my parents, it was bad. There was no support system then, and I kind of get his point. Do you not understand the battles that had to come before you could have this freedom to be a Republican?
I mean, I would be honest with you, the people I get the most hate from are even people that are younger than me, the next generation of gay people.
Wow.
And if I don't understand the battles, then they certainly don't understand the battles. And if they're so hell-bent on discussing the battles for gay and lesbian rights, then why did they dilute the organization with ethnicity, with a bunch of different things that aren't pertaining to being gay or lesbian? I mean, so really at the end of the day, I have to ask them. I don't think they understand the history because they don't. I think the community once stood for something good. We won the marriage case, which I think was foolish anyways. I think that would have been a great opportunity to actually say, you know what, government just shouldn't be involved in marriage to begin with, because that's what really causes the problem here. It's not the fact that it's gay people getting married, it's the fact that we have to go through the government to make it valid. And ultimately I think that's the problem. So what I have to say to you is, do I necessarily understand the struggle of the people back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s? No, I mean, obviously I wasn't around then. But, I do understand history, and I can tell you this, that the people that came after me, or around the same time as me, also have no clue. I mean, pride to them is just a time to walk around almost butt naked. And I don't understand how that's prideful or respectable. And then when people speak out against it, it's they hate gay people. No, they don't hate gay people. It's just unprofessional to a degree. And there is a serious problem within the LGBT community with professionality.
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, for instance, you have pride. And like I say, I'm not like the most staunchly social conservative people. But, there's things called public indecency and things of that nature. And I just don't think someone should be walking around with their butt cheeks hanging out.
What you might miss on that is the important step those crazy pride parades were, particularly in the 70s and 80s, in that they were outlandish. People wearing assless chaps, they're doing this crazy stuff. And they became purposely a center of ridicule. You could take it from Stonewall, you could take it to the pride parades, to the point then when Hollywood got involved in the fight, started putting on Will and Grace and Queer Eye and changed a narrative. And that was certainly a piece. I get that. But that was then. This is now. And I worry that if the gay movement, whatever's left of it, says, we're victims now, no, it just doesn't fly. And what they're going to do is fall into this race for who can be the biggest victim, who can be the greatest victim. And in a race for identity politics and victim celebration, it's going to rip a country apart.
I'm going to tell you this one thing. I mean, you can't be claiming to be the victims when every major company paints their logo as a rainbow. I'm sorry, it's just not. I just don't understand that. You're telling me that Apple and Nike and every other large company under the sun is so accepting of gay people, yet that's still the counterculture? Absolutely not. It's become the normal culture. The counterculture has become professionality to a degree.
The counterculture is, I'm a Republican, I have a Trump sign on my cubicle, and now I've been told to rip it down. The counterculture is the guy at work who's an NRA member, and he's been bullied for that. That's the counterculture. All right, so all that into this position of GOP chair in a highly progressive town, a city that hasn't seen a Republican mayor in my lifetime, I think. What are you guys going to do?
What we're going to do?
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing right now is we're running initiatives, because historically, my counterparts in the past, I've been involved in politics for a little bit. I ran the Trump campaign on the Western Slope back in 2016, was the regional director for the Victory Operation, which worked for the party back in 2018. But, being in the urban environment, what we sought to do is, and this is nationally, is you can't just regurgitate the same conservative talking points that work in the other areas of the country. The rural-urban divide is a very big divide, and you have to change your messaging, in the urban area versus the rural area. For instance, the rural county is more of, stay out of my business, this is my ranch, this is my area, we'll call on each other for support, versus in the urban area, it's much more densely populated. There's this, people, it's going to be more communal by nature. And as a result, Republican talking points can't just be less government, stay out of my business, but it should be more accountability. And this is for all urban environments.
You mentioned initiatives. Like what?
Like I'm running one on the homelessness. So what that seeks to do is it's going to set up four homeless camps where they can legally camp throughout the city, where they'll have basic safety lighting, sanitation, and running water. And it also makes it easier for social workers to find them because there's one of 4 areas, and it also allows for property owners who have a homeless person camping on their property after 72 hours to find the city if they're not removed.
To find the city. So if this initiative passes, I assume it'll be on the fall ballot, then the homeless who are encamping around this neighborhood, if the city will have to relocate them, is that the right term, to another place that they won't be able to stay on private property.
Well, correct. They will not be able to stay at private property. That's why.
What about public property, like all over these sidewalks?
The initiative does not cover public property. Okay. So it's got to be done with one bite at a time. As you're aware, in 2020 they had Proposition 2B that passed, which allowed for $40 million to be directed to the homelessness. And I actually did an interview with CPR, and they asked me, why are you running this initiative? It's only been a couple months since the election. And I said to them, because safe injection sites and porta potties isn't a valid solution to deal with this problem.
Well, and also as free marketeers, we know the economic truth. When you subsidize something, you get more of it. And so once Hickenlooper started subsidizing homelessness by calling it the road home, we now have an epidemic that is turning our city to crap. And so the tax increase only increased the subsidies to the homeless. So the idea here is to have homeless encampments that are safe, secure, running water, and they need to stay there. At some point, we are going to have to get them off the sidewalks. It is too much, and I think it's such a wedge issue that privately, Democrats and progressives in a voting booth will vote for this overwhelmingly.
I totally think so. I totally think this is going to pass, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I think it's going to pass, because in 2018 and 2020, there was essentially a referendum on homelessness, both times, one to maintain the urban camping ban, the other one was to increase the sales tax, and both of them passed overwhelmingly by 80% plus. And I think that this will pass as well. I cannot tell you the amount of Facebook messages, Instagram messages, emails, text, phone calls I've got from Democrats, from independents, saying thank you for doing this.
People want to learn more about the Denver GOP and you. Where do they go?
You can always email me at chairman@denvergop.org. We also have our
denvergop.org.
Correct. That's it. And then our office is 1660 South Albion Street. It's off the corner of Colorado and Mexico.
Awesome. Best of luck to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
Yes, absolutely. And I'd be more than happy to come on again and talk about other things in the future if you want me to.
Looking forward to it.
Great.
If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.